I wanted to go to Iceland for our honeymoon. Coincidentally, I came across a popular post online. In the photo, a man and woman were happily cuddling in the snow, watching the aurora. The caption read, "He says the title goes to her, but love to me. Experiencing Iceland travel in advance for someone, hehe." The next second, the dynamic photo revealed the man's profile. My hand trembled. The phone fell to the ground. To make the honeymoon unforgettable for a lifetime, I started searching for guides online 6 months in advance. In my chat history with Jason, it was all filled with various honeymoon destinations recommended by netizens that I sent to him. He said, "I like the sea, you like snow, why not go to both?" My heart was filled with joy, and I laughed at his greediness. For me, this was not just a honeymoon trip. It was the testament to our love after so many years, finally settling down. I wanted to go to Iceland. I was particularly drawn to a photo of a couple kissing under the aurora. So, I clicked into the blogger's homepage. Iceland at night is very photogenic, with floating auroras and couples cuddling. The photo turned dynamic. I was suddenly stunned. The man in the photo was too familiar to me. I even doubted if I had seen it wrong. I exited and reopened it. After repeating twice, I finally confirmed that the man in the photo was Jason, whom I had watched and loved for 6 years. In the icy world, the girl was bundled up tightly, her back view adorable like a little rabbit. Jason thoughtfully adjusted her scarf and held her firmly in his arms, his face full of indulgent smiles. My eyes grew increasingly sore. A mustard-like stinging soreness surged to the tip of my nose. My phone slipped from my hand. Slumped on the floor, I ran my fingers through my hair over and over, trying to stay awake. Wasn't Jason supposed to be meeting with the wedding planner to discuss the arrangements? Why was he in Iceland? And who was that woman beside him? Unwilling to give up, I reopened the woman's homepage, but this account was obviously new, she had only posted this one update. Looking at the glaring text above, my nails dug deeply into my palms. "He is so cute, he said someone likes Iceland but doesn't want to give her the first romantic trip, so he took me on an overnight departure to see the aurora. Under the aurora, he devoutly promised me, the title to her, but love to me." I never expected much anyway, meeting him already made me very happy. This ambiguous statement was quickly questioned in the comments. What is their relationship? I don't understand. Scumbag and mistress, doing such shameless things behind his girlfriend's back, and making it sound so romantic, unbelievable. I think this girl is quite cute, this guy obviously really likes her, the eyes don't lie. Blessings, blessings. In love, the one not loved is the third party, so she might not be the mistress. A few simple photos sparked some discussion. Not long after, she came online again. She even liked the blessing comments and replied, "Love has no first come, first served, I just lost because I didn't meet him first. It doesn't matter what everyone says about me, but my lover is very good, please be merciful and don't hurt him." Finally, she pinned her own comment, "If love is separated by mountains and seas can be flattened." She carefully replied to everyone. Immersed in this nameless love, unable to extricate herself. And I became the obstructive mountains and seas. I stumbled into the sofa, lost in thought. The phone slipped from my hand and fell to the ground, along with my tightly clenched heart plunging into the abyss. At this moment, my mood was even heavier than if I had seen Jason die with my own eyes. In just a few minutes, my mind kept replaying this relationship spanning 6 years. Where exactly did it go wrong? Actually, my life was a complete mess. Unwillingly, I picked up the phone again. With trembling hands, I typed a comment, "If he loves you, why don't you get married?" Time passed second by second. I curled up on the sofa, unable to figure it out no matter how I thought. Clearly, we loved each other so much. How could he betray me? I couldn't understand. I couldn't understand why he deceived my feelings and also wanted to deceive me into marriage. If he didn't love me, why not come clean? I stared at the chandelier on the ceiling. My eyes grew increasingly sore. That was the chandelier Jason custom-made for me by hand. It was made by grinding small crystals into prisms, nailing them one by one, piecing them together to form this perfect shape. At that time, I thought it was troublesome. But he insisted on doing it himself, saying as long as I liked it, it wasn't troublesome. Originally, this chandelier was my favorite, exquisite, gorgeous, hand-customized. But now, I only felt the light was glaring. The phone had been vibrating on the ground for a while. On the other end was Jason's apologetic voice. "Lynn, I've coordinated with the wedding company, but today the leader suddenly arranged a business trip for me. I might be back a few days late. Sorry I can't accompany you to try on the wedding dress. Our wedding is in a week, and now he's going on a business trip." "What about the wedding?" I asked hoarsely. Jason paused on the other end and quickly replied, "I'll definitely be back before the wedding." Perhaps out of guilt, or feeling his excuse was too weak, he quickly added, "Lynn, not being able to see you in your wedding dress for the first time really saddens me. Can you take a few more photos and send them to me, so I can look at them when I miss you?" His words were like a pair of hands tightly choking my neck. The questioning words stuck in my throat. No coldness, no flaws in his words. Just like when he first pursued me. If it were yesterday, I might still feel guilty that he was so busy with work and still handling wedding details, fearing I was being inconsiderate, and worrying about his health. I clenched my fists and asked, "Where are you now?" Jason laughed teasingly, "We're about to get married, and now you think of checking up on me." Soon he sent a photo from the plane. "Just boarded, with colleagues, ones you've met." Because I never checked up on him, looking at this photo gave me no clues. Almost believing Jason's words again, the watch on his colleague's wrist revealed the flaw. I immediately zoomed in on the photo, although blurry, I could vaguely see. The date was wrong. This was clearly taken earlier. On the other end, Jason said somewhat anxiously, "Okay baby, the plane is about to take off, I'll report safe after landing, hanging up first, bye love you." The cold hang-up tone was as icy as my palms. The business trip was fake. The photo was fake. Loving me was also fake. I could no longer discern which of his words were true. I was very sad. Sad that the once kind and gentle boy suddenly died. Died on that scorching afternoon under the blazing sun. The first time I saw Jason was at a school-organized fundraising event. He was sweating profusely under the sun but ran back and forth delivering water to classmates. After the event, he picked up the scattered water bottles on the ground, carried a huge bag, and gave them to the grandma near the school who had difficulty walking and often collected bottles. He stood under the street light, scratching his head embarrassedly and smiling. Brighter than the sun. Later, we got to know each other. And he was as gentle as ever, just like my ideal. The library suddenly lost power, pitch black, afraid I was scared but not daring to touch me. He patted his backpack behind me, while he squatted in front of me, continuously saying, "Don't be afraid, he's here." When it rained, the umbrella always tilted toward me. When eating, he would nervously ask if I had any taboos. He ran across half the city just to buy me a green grape-flavored small cake. In countless details I hadn't noticed, he achieved full marks. Later, he held flowers, so nervous he couldn't speak clearly. With many people around, he feared embarrassing me. He said he bought the flowers because it was late and cold, wanting the grandma to sell out and go home early. But when I took the flowers, he carefully expressed his love. I nodded, smiling in response. The boy's eyes shone with the same irrepressible light as mine. From then on, I fell in love with winter. The snowy season. As if every falling snowflake hid that whispered love. On graduation day, Jason made a summer snow for me. He shuttled back and forth in the corridor, running sweat-drenched, just to see me smile. The white chemicals compensated for our regret of not graduating in winter. I like snow. Also because of him. He said every winter from now on we would spend together, and he would take me to the most beautiful places in the world to see snow. I was certain he wouldn't deceive me, such fervent eyes emanated love I would never doubt. At many crossroads, we never got separated. I thought he would hold my hand forever, but unbeknownst to me, at some point, he let go of my hand. And held another's. I don't understand why we became like this. Is it that all relationships cannot withstand the years and time? When proposing, Jason swore that his love for me had no expiration, and he would hold an unforgettable, grand wedding for me. I waited. Waited for him to achieve success. Waited for him to fulfill his promise. But up to now, sweet words mixed with lies were like knives, personally killing the bright boy under the scorching sun in my heart. Jason. A coward without even the courage to come clean. I started counting down to the wedding. At the same time, peeking into Jason's other relationship. The previous comment to the girl had a reply: a marriage in name only can't trap my lover, he is a wolf on the grassland, free and passionate. And we both don't want to hurt his wife. After reading, cold sweat ran down my back. What does that mean? She knows me too? I started screening in my mind the common friends of Jason and me. But none was someone I could suspect. Jason's childhood friend has a boyfriend. My best friend was devastated over her ex, not yet out of the previous relationship. The classmates I know are all married, some even with children. I couldn't calm down. When I was thinking anxiously, the other party posted a new update. The face was mosaicked. But I could still clearly recognize the man in a sharp suit in front of the mirror as Jason. The woman was wearing a wedding dress, with a slender waist, hugged from behind by Jason. Their 10 fingers interlocked at her abdomen. The photo gradually became mottled and blurry in my eyes. I originally thought I could regulate my emotions. But when I saw the rings on their ring fingers, I still couldn't control the trembling and cried out. That was the one Jason made by hand, engraved with my name's initials. Doesn't she mind? The next second, my whole body stiffened. The necklace on the girl's neck. Isn't that the birthday gift I gave to Vivian? But she is my best friend. Vivian is a friend I've played with since university. She's the friend who would rush up first to hug me after my competition ended, the friend who stayed up late near Christmas to knit me a scarf. The friend I jumped into the river without hesitation to save. It was actually her. I stared at the extremely familiar pair in the photo, my blood seeming to freeze. My heart felt like it was cut open with a knife, then casually sprinkled with salt. The pain was suffocating. Them. It was actually them. It turns out that when people are in pain and despair, they can actually laugh. But while laughing, tears disobediently well up, falling onto the phone's message dialog box. It was the photo of Jason cheating that I hadn't had time to send. And the recipient was Vivian. Vivian, Lynn. So that ring was never mine. I suddenly buried myself in the pillow and cried loudly. Is this my punishment? But I clearly did nothing wrong. Their love was intense and high profile. Vivian posted another love declaration on social media. He said he would give me a grand yet secret unforgettable wedding. Calming down and thinking, perhaps everything had signs long ago. It was I who never noticed. When Vivian just broke up, she made a fuss about jumping into the river to commit suicide. I jumped into the river to save her, brought her home, watched over her for several nights, fearing she would do something extreme again. I asked Jason to put away all sharp things at home, and took Vivian camping, mountain climbing, skiing. She gradually regained her state day by day. The day she left my home, we hugged and cried bitterly. I told her not to do silly things anymore, it's not worth it for a man who doesn't love her. She nodded, saying she wouldn't. She would be strong and live for herself in the future. But after that, Jason's business trips became more frequent than before. Until we went to custom make the wedding rings. He said he wanted to personally make a unique ring engraved with our names, symbolizing eternal unchanging love. But while engraving, he accidentally pierced his finger. In the hospital, it happened to be Vivian who bandaged him. Vivian's tense furrowed brows while bandaging Jason's wound even moved me. But upon hearing that Jason injured his finger while custom making the ring, she teased, Lynn, Jason is truly deeply in love with you, for eternal love, he doesn't even care about his finger. I'm so envious of you having someone who loves you so much. At that time I was blinded by sweet love. I didn't notice at all that her teasing might actually be a reproach to Jason. Later, Jason said the ring was lost by the clerk. He also said the staff had it hard, so don't pursue it. And the ring on my hand now is just an ordinary diamond ring from the display case that can be replicated countless times. At first, I thought as long as our hearts were connected, any ring was fine. Now, I only feel disgusted. Everything about Jason makes me feel utterly disgusted. I threw away the ring. Along with this disgusting relationship. Such a controversial yet simultaneously blessed relationship made Vivian generously recall her past with Jason to netizens. When I was at my most disheveled, single-mindedly seeking death, it was his appearance that reignited my hope for life. He said he felt heartache from the first time he saw me. At that time I lived in his home. He was good at talking to cheer me up, accompanied me playing games, and personally made cakes and cookies for me. Vivian posted many photos of daily life. When I wasn't home, every corner here was their romantic memories. Seeing this, my stomach churned. These furniture and decorations I carefully selected were already thoroughly dirty without the wear of time. That was the first time I mustered the courage to hug him. He suddenly grabbed my hand. Originally, I was terrified because my overstep might make me lose him and my best friend at the same time. But unexpectedly, he turned and lifted me onto the table, lowered his head and kissed me. A beast hid in his body, kissing my collarbone, biting my shoulder painfully, calling my name over and over tirelessly in his newly bought wedding house. In an instant, I felt like falling into an ice cave. I discussed with Vivian my longed-for romantic wedding, the beautiful honeymoon trip. All of this was without any dignity. She just watched my ridiculous side, still smiling while helping me choose the wedding dress and bouquet. This home was already thoroughly dirty, filled with a foul stench everywhere. I didn't want to stay a second longer. Thinking that the idea of going to Iceland was something I personally shared with Vivian. When pressing the elevator, my hands were shaking. My life. A complete mess. The wedding proceeded as scheduled. Both parents, full of distinguished guests. In the banquet back hall, Jason stood behind me and put on the carefully selected necklace. The ring was also changed back to our engagement ring. Lynn, I've finally waited for this day. Jason encircled my waist, gently saying to the mirror, "You look so beautiful in the wedding dress." In the mirror, my smile was stiff. My mood was comparable to eating shit. Vivian, as the bridesmaid, was also there, occasionally helping me adjust the wedding dress and hair. Enduring the nausea, I turned and hooked Jason's neck, nose-tip rubbing nose-tip. Such an intimate action somewhat made Vivian unable to hold her composure. I looked up at Jason. "Do the words you said when proposing still count?" Jason was stunned. Thought for a moment, quickly said, "Of course. The words I said to you will always count." When proposing initially, I jokingly asked him, "If you like someone else in the future, what then?" At that time, we had just graduated, still very inexperienced. Jason nervously raised his hand, swore decisively, "Impossible. In this life I won't fall in love with anyone but you. If I really betray you, let me have nothing and never find happiness again." Having shed the inexperience, the current Jason in front of me is just a remnant clad in hypocritical clothing. The former love, along with his betrayal, had long been burned to ashes. Good. I smiled and nodded. Just remember it. Why suddenly say this? Are you too nervous about going on stage later? Jason soothingly rubbed my wrist. I shook my head. Curled my lips, not nervous, I've waited for this day for a long time. Through the mirror, I saw Vivian expressionlessly clenching her hem tightly. I hugged Jason's neck, whispered in his ear. Then chuckled lowly, pretended to be shy and hit him twice. Vivian completely couldn't hold it, came forward and pulled me away. "Alright, you two stop fooling around, the wedding is about to start, prepare quickly, we'll go to the front hall soon." She chased Jason out. Then came back to help me adjust makeup and hair, holding 2 bouquets in hand. "The wedding company sent 2 bunches, pick one." I glanced and said to her, Pick one you like, anyway, it's to be given to you. Vivian lowered her head, smiled shyly. Whispered, if I could really get your blessing, that would be great. I clenched my fists hard. Vivian picked a bouquet matching the dress color for me. When handing it to me, her eyes suddenly reddened. Lynn, I really hope you can be happy. I looked at her, biting her lip, looking like she wanted to speak but stopped. My eyes also reddened. I suppressed the urge to raise my hand countless times. I know. I will be happy. But before that, I need to reclaim my dignity first. Accompanied by gentle music, I held Jason's arm and slowly walked into the wedding banquet main hall under the gaze of relatives and friends. The wedding banquet theme scene was different from what I discussed with the wedding company. Because Jason likes the sea, I like snow, so the basic color tone was mainly blue and white. But now, it all turned pink. I wasn't surprised. Just a few minutes before going on stage, Vivian's alt account updated again. 2 photos of the wedding banquet site and interlocked fingers. She captioned, "This day has finally come. Before the wedding stage, I cried in his arms for a long time. I'm so angry at myself for not meeting him first, not even having the right to openly be jealous. He kissed the tears on my face, knowing I like roses, so he had the wedding company temporarily change the wedding theme color. The banquet hall was covered with roses and changed to my favorite pink. He said this is a gift for me. I love him, and love his bold love even more." These days, I always couldn't sleep. As soon as I closed my eyes, it was images of Vivian and Jason together. Uncontrollably imagining the scenes of their love described by Vivian. Then my brain felt oxygen deprived. Sleeping on my side, sleeping on my stomach. Finally falling asleep only to be woken by nightmares, clothes soaked in cold sweat. Several times in the middle of the night, I picked up the phone, unable to resist wanting to ask Jason clearly. But in repeated scenario simulations, I put down the phone. The result of questioning is imaginable. He apologizes or not, then my forgiveness or not, finally a painless separation. I don't accept such an end. There is no true empathy in the world, so some things must be experienced by them personally. Just like now. From unbearable pain to gradual desensitization. Looking at Vivian's updates again, my mood was already calm as a lake surface, without any ripples. My numbness was born from experiencing despair. "I do." Jason answered the officiant's words. The officiant turned, asked me the same question. I calmly withdrew my hand from Jason's, my voice echoing throughout the banquet hall. "I do not." My parents looked stunned. The crowd buzzed with discussion. No one knew that this scene had been rehearsed countless times in my mind. Jason's body stiffened, he lowered his head and whispered, "Lynn, do you know what you're saying? Stop fooling around, parents are watching below." Slap. I unhesitatingly raised my hand and slapped him. Jason looked stunned. I turned and took the officiant's microphone. Staring at him, word by word, "Why should I marry a cheap man who's been married twice? Lynn, what are you saying?" Jason's words stopped abruptly, his face instantly pale, stiff in place. And Vivian's face gradually lost control, embarrassed. The original projection of Jason and my love memoir turned into a short video of Jason and Vivian's affair. This was a video I specially had someone make, with effort in post-production. The screen kept zooming in. Iceland, seaside, campsite, wedding room. They posed in various intimate positions, high-profile proclaiming love. Finally freezing on their wedding photo. Instantly, the audience below was in an uproar. In the guest seats, my mom covered her chest, my dad kept comforting. I turned to Vivian at the stage edge, "Gift for you, do you like it?" Vivian bit her lip hard, tears swirling, took half a day to squeeze out, "Lynn, it's not what you imagine, Jason and I are just he takes good care of me, I'm very grateful." I sneered. Evidence is right in front, and she can still make up stories. The bouquet was one I forced on her. In the microphone, my voice amplified, "I bless you, bitch with dog, forever and ever." Vivian wailed and cried. "Lynn. Jason growled and came over, snatched the microphone from my hand, pulled me to the corner. Suppressing anger, he whispered, "You misunderstood." Before I could speak, he hurriedly stuffed the microphone back to me. "First explain to everyone that the video just now isn't real. Vivian and I are just friends, the rest I'll explain to you after the wedding." "Explain what?" I fiercely shook off his hand. "Explain how you did utterly disgusting things in my wedding house? Or explain how you couldn't resist temptation and ate the grass by the nest? Or explain that you were really on a business trip instead of taking Vivian to Iceland?" "Jason, you disgust me." Jason interrupted me, growled, "Don't forget, it was you who introduced Vivian to me. Don't you have any responsibility in this?" "What responsibility do I have? If it wasn't Vivian I saved but my grandma, would he want to be my grandpa?" Simply absurd. The pointing and whispering below grew louder. Jason panicked. Forcibly grabbed my hand. "Lynn, I won't hold today's actions against you, let's proceed with the wedding first, okay? Your parents are watching below, don't make them worry. After the wedding, I'll explain to parents, I'll accept punishment, okay?" Anxiety and urgency were written on Jason's face, causing him to still not see the situation clearly. His explanations were worthless. They only made me feel disgusted. I forcefully pulled away his hand, word by word. "No one wants to hear your explanations, the wedding is over. If you entangle further, I have even uglier things of yours not released yet." Jason's body swayed, dejectedly retreated 2 steps. Vivian was pointed at, already sobbing uncontrollably. "Isn't she Lynn's best friend? Stealing her best friend's boyfriend, isn't she afraid of divine retribution? And what good is Jason, cheating with the best friend behind his girlfriend's back, dirty and cheap? I found that woman's love alt account, who in their right mind posts like this? Would you?" I wouldn't. Actually treating stealing best friend's boyfriend as gossip to post online for netizens' blessings? Despicable. Vivian in the corner, shrunk into a ball. Completely different from her high-profile show of affection back then. On site, some pulled chairs and left one by one. Among them was the professor who wrote Jason's recommendation letter. My dad rushed onto the stage, picked up the microphone and said, "My daughter has been well behaved from childhood to adulthood, her mom and I don't expect much, just hope she finds someone steadfast, stable, and good to her. Such a thing happening, sorry to make everyone laugh, blame my daughter for meeting the wrong person, also blame us elders for misjudging. I absolutely won't marry my daughter to such scum. I announce the wedding is cancelled." Jason suddenly rushed up, knelt before my dad and shouted, "Dad, can't cancel, I really love Lynn." My dad kicked him away. "Shut up, don't call me dad. My Lynn hasn't gotten the marriage certificate with you yet." My dad was very angry, his hand holding the microphone was shaking. At that time, to catch an auspicious day for marriage, the certificate was scheduled after the wedding. At that time, I laughed at parents for being superstitious, saying any day to marry is fine. Now thinking, it's extremely fortunate. Good. Stopping at the cliff's edge is not too late. Seeing the seriousness in my dad's eyes, Jason completely panicked. "Dad, we've come this far, canceling the wedding now, Lynn's reputation won't sound good if spread, I beg you to give me another chance. My daughter, even if she never marries in this life, won't marry scum like you." My dad shouldered Jason aside, pulled me and left. Behind, a bang. Jason embarrassingly knelt to the ground. Jason's parents from not far, hurriedly ran to block my parents, embarrassedly whispered, "In-laws, see if this matter can be eased." My mom immediately protected me behind, loudly roared back, "Who are in-laws with you? Mind your son, make him stay away from our Lynn in the future." Jason's parents' faces were very ugly. Reluctantly made way. Son cheating before wedding, evidence conclusive, character and reputation, face completely lost. Frank got angrier thinking, hating iron for not becoming steel, picked up a wooden stick and fiercely hit Jason's back. Vivian was scolded shameless by Margaret, chased around the banquet hall beating. The originally warm romantic banquet hall became chaotic. Fortunately, these were no longer related to me. On the way back, my mom kept cursing Jason as worthless, angry as if wanting to bite. Actually, the second before the wedding stage, I had let go. Life doesn't have so much smooth sailing. For ordinary people, timely stop-loss and being safe is the luckiest. After detaching from Jason's world, I quickly entered a new life. No need to worry about Jason's cat hair allergy, raised a big orange cat. No more anxiety about post-marriage homemaking days, charging at the career frontline. Suddenly discovered the world is vast. And previously I was just trapped in a corner of life, everything revolving around Jason. Now the lightboat has passed myriad mountains. In contrast, Jason and Vivian's lives weren't so good. Since after the wedding, their high-profile affair made waves among friends and relatives. Heard the professor who originally wrote Jason's recommendation letter refused to provide him a parachuted opportunity, and reminded him to learn to be a person before doing things. No choice, Jason's parents could only use money to pull strings. He barely entered the unit starting from grassroots. Work and life plummeted. Seeing Jason again was on the day returning to alma mater for anniversary. In just a few months, he became very haggard. Dark circles heavier, hairline receded a bit, he's nearsighted but for image often wore contacts. Now a thick black frame on his nose, if not for him speaking, I almost didn't recognize. How have you been lately? He blocked me in the coming and going crowd. Pretty good. He gently sized me up, saw I wasn't lying, nodded, good as good. I found him nagging, turned to leave, but he called me. Lynn, you really won't give me one chance. His expression was painful, seeming to forcefully show me the torment of separation this time. Our relationship of so many years, can you really say let go and let go? I've already cleared it with Vivian, we won't contact anymore. Initially, I was bewitched, but I asked my conscience, in these years except this Vivian matter, I haven't deceived you once. He came over, begged, just this once, forgive me okay? No. I was very decisive. Just like my former love for Jason. When Jason had a car accident, I rushed to the hospital to transfuse blood until almost shock. I grabbed the doctor's arm begging, saying as long as it can save him, even if my blood is drained dry it's fine. At that time, lying on the bed staring at the blood bag thinking, if Jason died, I wouldn't marry in this life. Perhaps because the love was too deep, so even a bit of his betrayal I couldn't forgive. Let alone, it was Vivian. Heard Vivian is pregnant. Jason's expression suddenly stiffened. Actually, I didn't intentionally probe their news. Just that the circle was the same, one passes to another and it reached my ears. Yours? Jason messily grabbed his hair, collapsed, don't know, I took measures every time, how could she? He suddenly looked at me, paused, and I told her, other things okay, just can't hurt you, so impossible to let her get pregnant. At this moment, he was incomparably ugly. Giving me a sense of rupture. When exactly did that sunny boy die? Jason said, I can make Vivian abort the child, originally I didn't want this child. She's at most a small detour in my relationship, how can it compare to our 6 years? Before I could speak, a desperate voice from behind Jason interjected, what are you saying? Long unseen Vivian also changed greatly. Disheveled hair couldn't hide the haggard face, originally plump cheeks now thin and concave. Seeming incredulous at Jason's words, she ran over questioning, Jason, are you speaking human words? Vivian's belly was already showing. But Jason seeing her, only a face of annoyance. Voice cold, who let you come? Why can't I come, this is my alma mater too. Vivian pretended calm, flicked her hair, turned to me, Lynn, I admit we were wrong to be together behind your back, but I've received punishment too. Heard, Vivian's account was doxed, some cursed her, some swore. Colleagues knew, company fired her. Now she's making a fuss to enter Jason's home, but Jason's parents never relent. Vivian said, since you've already separated from Jason, in the future hope you keep distance from him, don't meet again. The ridiculous thing is, when she finally could rightfully say these to me, I no longer cared. Jason yelled at her, What nonsense are you saying, Lynn, and my matters don't need an outsider like you to meddle. Vivian ignored his harsh words, good-temperedly held his hand. Whatever matter, let's go home and talk. Talk what talk? Jason finally collapsed. Angrily slapped Vivian, my matters don't need your interference, get lost. Vivian covered her face, cried. Junior students didn't understand, embarrassed to peek, could only slip away one by one. I had no interest in watching their dogfight, strode forward. Jason wanted to block me, but was blocked by Vivian. The two cursed each other in the crowd again. Finally, I vaguely heard Jason angrily shout, no wonder your ex broke up with you, you're simply vexatious and disgusting, initially Lynn shouldn't have saved you, let you die. This time their fuss was hard to resolve. In agitation, they pushed each other. Jason accidentally pushed Vivian down, head hit ground with much blood. The child was gone. Vivian could only use a wheelchair. Vivian's parents directly made a scene at Jason's unit. Jason was forced to resign, Margaret's hair turned white overnight, no choice but to take Vivian home. The two elders served Vivian. Jason ignored, smoked and drank, once degenerated. Several times drunk, he beat and cursed Vivian. Vivian made suicide threats daily. Vivian's parents had no way but to temporarily send her to a mental treatment center. Finally, the two families went to court. Jason was sued by Vivian's parents, compensated and imprisoned for half a year. But I long stopped caring about these, occasional gossip entered my ears. Like a pebble into a lake, no ripples. Life's path smooth. My steps didn't stop. Before the plane for solo travel, I posted on moments. Look forward. Don't rot in the past and dreams.